Myron, take me back to that day. It was 3 a.m. and you were sitting on the platform. What happened?
So I remember it like it was yesterday. It was 3 a.m. I was coming back from a gig. It was a Saturday night. I was prepping for my Sunday morning gig. I had been a full-time DJ for a year at the time, and I just couldn't take it anymore. It was constant back and forth at the whim of the Long Island Railroad. And if you know anything about how Long Island is constructed, it's not the easiest to get around when it comes to metropolitan transportation. I was running back and forth up to Harlem, Manhattan, and then back to again Long Island. So it was a lot of running around. At the time, DJing wasn't fun anymore for me. I didn't feel like I was doing it for a sense of community, because I enjoyed the music. It felt like I was truly just doing it to put money on the table. And I think at the root of anything creative, when you're doing it to put money on the table, if you're in a position where you can do it and there's a lot of money coming in, wonderful. But for a lot of creatives within New York State, we've heard the term starving artist before, and it's a very real thing. And it was definitely what I was. So I remember sitting down. I was holding my very heavy DJ case. I had my heavy backpack on as well, and I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And I just sat there, and I said that, and I sat quiet. And next thing I know, the train came, and I didn't even do the gig on Sunday. Actually, that's what made it worse. It got canceled after I got there on Sunday morning, and that's when I really solidified this is it for me. I need to make a change.
So you were doing music full time. You didn't quit
Yes,
music, you pivoted. What
absolutely.
so what was your thinking? What happened then?
I knew it's funny. Before I knew that community was the backbone of everything I wanted to do, I didn't know it. And when I pivoted and said I needed to do something different, I just knew that I wanted to be around people and doing this, but I wanted to do it from a more enjoyable standpoint. I wasn't playing the music I really loved. I wasn't in the crowds that I really loved. It just became very stressful. In terms of pivoting, I really didn't know where I wanted to go. I knew that, again, community and accessibility was a very big thing for me. And I actually went on Indeed and LinkedIn, and I was shooting in the dark at any job that next week that I felt I could, throw my hat in the ring for. Something that I've always been very passionate about is economic development, access to certain opportunities and resources for various communities, especially black and brown and underserved communities. And New York State does an excellent job in making sure that underserved communities have those resources or access to those resources. So I knew that that was an area I did want to work within. So I ended up shooting my shot and sending out a bunch of resumes on behalf of various New York State agencies, other strategic agencies that worked alongside New York State, and that is how I landed and ended up working in public relations. Yes, very shortly after. It was almost 2 months after, I think. So it was a pretty quick turnaround, and it was definitely a crazy change of pace. I'll say the first 2 months of adjusting to that corporate life was terrible. I didn't know if it was going to be for me. So
So tell me, what would have grinding and doing that for another year cost you?
I think I would have quit DJing. Absolutely. If I would have continued to grind or grinded, however you want to put it, and continue to DJ at that rate and do things full time, I absolutely would have quit DJing. And I've seen it before with many of my counterparts. The same thing has happened, and it's in worst cases, it's resulted in them having to leave New York State, which is unfortunate, but it's a very real thing.
Okay. So we'll get back to that because you just had some of the biggest DJ platform in the world. And if you were to quit,
Yes.
you wouldn't have had that. But tell me this, if you were, I'm thinking now, if you were writing a book about your entrepreneurial life,
Mhm.
what would be the title and why?
Oh man, I said this last week and I cannot remember. I can't
Well,
remember what it was. I
today,
think
what would it be?
today, what would it be? Stay the course.
Mm,
Stay the course. Stay the course. Oh no, I'm gonna change that. I think going back to what you said earlier about pivoting, I think the title of the book would be "It's Okay to Pivot. It's okay to start over." I think it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to forge another path for yourself. I think, of course, it requires a certain level of recognizing the barriers in front of you, what's ahead of you that may be hard, and of course, it takes a certain level of discipline and persistence, consistency, all of that. But it's absolutely okay to pivot. In a lot of cases, at least in my experience, it can be very fruitful.
So tell me about if there was a chapter in there. It sounds like community is also important. What would that chapter on community be about?
How powerful community actually is. I mean, if you think about it, especially within music, you learn a lot from being a DJ and learning how to read a room. You learn about what makes people move. You learn about what keeps people up at night. You learn about what makes them happy. Think about whenever you're out at a bar, folks get, a drink or two, they hear some good music. You can learn a lot about a person when there's good music in the background and they're just sharing away, right? And I think music is one of the easiest ways to really start to forge a community, right? I mean, in just less than 20 minutes, a room full of random strangers can become a small community just from the music that's playing. I think community is one of the most powerful things that we've really forgotten today, and it's how we come back together and realize, hey, we have a lot more connective tissue than we believe.
It sounds like
So
there's two threads. If you were to pick the thread, community or pivoting, what's the bigger thread for your book on entrepreneurial or you're doing life your Myron's way?
community is definitely the stronger thread. I think I think pivoting is fine as a focal point for finding
Give
where
me
you
the
want to be.
community title. What would the title be then?
I think I remember it from last week. It all begins with community, right?
Oh,
I think that is the title.
and then your points would be what in that book?
This is a hard one right here.
But you're the
When I start
master.
to think of
You live this.
it's funny. I've lived it for so many years, and there's so many different threads that run through community. I mean, I think it's at the root of it. When you come together with a community, you can solve so many problems, right?
Mm.
I mean, I think there are millions of problems within various communities, especially underserved communities. But I think when you understand that it takes a village and you start to piece together the puzzles of who does what, who's useful where, how we can come together toward a bigger, much more significant mission. I think again that's where it all begins, and it's first finding out what community you're a part of and looking into yourself to figure out, okay, where do I belong, right? And if you don't feel like you belong anywhere, which is I do feel a lot of creatives and entrepreneurs feel like that, you can create your own community because believe it or not, there's a group for everyone out there. There's a community for everyone out there, and they are sharing your struggles. They are sharing your frustrations. They're sharing your wins. They're sharing everything under the sun. So if you ever feel that there isn't a community out there, maybe there's no one that is going through what you're going through, I promise you, there's more than you think.
Ever since you walked up that platform, you've kind of had to keep choosing this pivot and what you're doing next and where you're going to
hmm
add value. What's the compass you use?
Ooh, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm a believer in God. So I do believe that at different points in my life, I've stopped and I've kind of asked God to help me figure out what's next and where I need to go. A lot of the times, I get also a lot of inspiration from just exploring different cultures, different communities, and learning from different people. A lot of the ideas that I've gotten, especially when it comes to problem solving, has been listening and being twice a better listener than I am speaker. I
Mm.
think that's very important as well because when you're able to listen to people across different communities, and even within your own community, you learn again what keeps them up at night, what bothers them, and then if you're always thinking like an entrepreneur, you're always thinking about solutions and ways to solve a problem, better a community, things like that. So yeah,
When you think
yeah.
out to that 3 a.m. moment and these decisions you've made since, I know I've heard you talk about your why. Can you explain a little how your why has informed your direction?
I think being a problem solver has informed my direction because it's the same thread that runs through everything I do today. I mean, when we think about DJing and live programming, a large part of why my DJ career scaled was during COVID, where I actually almost quit DJing. But the big thing for me is, there were a lot of DJs going live on different social media platforms, and they were asking for donations. They were playing music, the same things you would just hear on the radio or whatever else. But it was still COVID. There was a lot of people that were trying to figure out, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Will we ever go outside again? We
Right.
didn't know what was coming. A large part of why I waited to start live streaming is because I didn't feel like I was actually solving anything or providing value at mass or at scale by playing the same thing that you could hear any other DJ doing. So my approach there was, how do I solve for multiple communities and make people want to come watch me, and what do I give them in return? So I leaned on nostalgia marketing, which again, people just wanted to know at the time during COVID, there was light at the end of the tunnel, right? And I think the easiest way to take people's mind off of what is currently in front of them. So at the time, again, we had a pandemic. I think it's taking them back to better times. So I specifically focus my brand around playing 70s, 80s, 90s disco, funk, and soul music because that is when a lot of folks believe life was better. And again, they lived that, so maybe that it was better for them. It takes them back to their childhood, it takes them back to happier times. I mean, I live streamed for 12, almost a year. I mean, at the height of my live streaming career, I had like 200,000 people watching me at one time on Reddit. And that was like week after week, right? I've had people say, "Hey, you remind me about this song." Me and my partner, we've rekindled our marriage just listening to your music and bonding together and things like that. And that is just one instance where a digital group became a community, even to where I now keep in contact with a lot of those people that found me from Reddit, and we are still in close contact. They've treated me like family, and that
So
same.
take me back to your why on
Mhm.
this, because then you did
Yes.
some work in Poughkeepsie. So tell us about the youth empowerment work you did and how that connected back to your why. And was this
So. Mhm.
trajectory you had after the 3 a.m. moment?
Yes, so right after all that live streaming stuff came in, this is where I realized, you know what? Again, this is where the community aspect comes in. So, as you know, I started up DATIES, my boutique strategy firm, and my first thought was, okay, I want to work with partners that are rooted in the community, specifically hyperlocal partners in New York State. I did some research and I found out about the Artifact in Poughkeepsie, where it's a fully creative, youth-focused nonprofit, and they were doing a lot of great things. I believe this was the first year, first or second year, they were doing their PKX Festival, which is fully crafted around the youth in Poughkeepsie and ensuring that we show them that the future begins with the youth, right? And we need to invest in the youth and make sure that they have the resources, they have the know-how, and they know they have the community to do what is best for them and what they feel is best for them, especially from a creative point of view. So
What did
I
you do
reached out
there?
to them.
Yeah.
hmm
What
Yeah,
did you do?
I reached out to them, focusing on live programming at first. I just wanted to know how I could get involved with them. I wasn't looking to solicit any marketing or any business like that. I just reached out off the strength of, hey, you guys are doing something amazing. I love that this focuses on the youth, especially from a creative standpoint. And I met them for an intro meeting. They loved everything that I was doing, especially as a young professional, where I was blending the worlds of what a corporate professional looks like and a creative professional as well. And then from there, they found out and knew that I was a DJ, and they said, you know what, we would love to have you join our live programming and strategy arm for this festival, even through today, where we've been working together for 5 years, and we've gotten the city of Poughkeepsie on board. The mayor has designated an area as a youth empowerment zone. It's been great. It's grown tremendously.
So tell me, you're building more than one company and you're working at the
Yes.
intersection of AI and marketing. And you're the same person that walked off that platform at 3 and said, I can't do this anymore. the
Yes.
grind of that broke you. How is what you're doing now different, your daily life, and what's happening?
I love what I'm doing now. I love the intersection that I'm at now where DJing and music, live programming, it's become less of a hobby and it's become something that plays more into my identity. It's not my identity as a whole, but it's something to where now I can come to it and really only do it when it fulfills something that again rolls directly into who I believe I am today. On top of that, I feel all my ventures now, they really again fold back into community, and that's exactly where I want to be and where I didn't know I wanted to be years ago.
It
And then
sounds like that's why you were so clear on community, and maybe that's what was missing on the platform that day,
absolutely,
right? Like this
absolutely.
hunger for more community. I,
And I think also it's if we even want to, excuse me, if even if we want to go a step further, I think community wasn't necessarily missing. I think I just was not in the right community myself, and I was going through a phase where I was trying to find myself and what community is for me. And I don't, I think I was struggling a lot because I didn't feel that anywhere out there there was a community for me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to create my own community. And if people like what I'm doing and they really feel in tune with it, I think it's the perfect space for them.
I love that. I love it. And there's this you're doing multiple things. Let's circle back to when I met you. You came
Yes,
into the How to Start Something Accelerator, already making money as a DJ. Why did you
yes.
join? Why did you come
I
into the accelerator? What was your goal?
To become more informed and really build a go-to-market strategy for my firm.
Which is
I think what was that?
for daties, kind of.
Yes, yes, for Daties. So as it stands today, Daties is a boutique strategy firm, and as you said, we do work at the intersection of discoverability, brand narrative, and live programming. At the time when I first met you, you could have not gotten that easy sentence out of me. I did not know what Daties was. I didn't have really any knowledge on what I wanted to consult on. Even though I was doing it, I just didn't know how to put that into words. I didn't know how to speak to someone or pitch my business. I did not know how to network. I did not know how to write up a business plan or get all my finances in order or even go look for grants or things like that. And I do think there is such a value in having mentorship and again a community, not to be a broken record, and a team that you can rely on and say, "Hey, I need help,"
What
because you can go.
what
Hmm?
was the single most impactful thing that happened to you there? Did all the just tell me about it because it sounds like there's lots of things, but what was most impactful of being a part of that accelerator at that point in your
Seeing everybody go through the same. The most impactful part was seeing everybody go through the same process. We were all fumbling on practice days for our elevator pitch. Some people in the program were already doing hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. Some of my colleagues now, you see them now and you're like, wow, like you've really scaled up. But seeing us all start in the same place, everybody's fumbling on their messaging, everybody's building the same platform, everybody's checking in with each other. I think that was the most impactful part because when you are able to come into a group and see that people are starting at the same place as you or places where you've got it buttoned up, others don't, vice versa. I think it's a much easier way for you all to connect and say, okay, I feel like I belong here. I feel like I'm safe to mess up. I'm safe to share my success. I don't feel like I'm alienated from everybody else and what's going on.
by the time you walked out of the How to Start Something Accelerator, what was different in you and your venture?
Oh, confidence. That's the single most thing. Confidence. It was confidence in how I spoke about myself. It was confidence in how I spoke about my venture. It was confidence in knowing that I could do this for somebody else. Like I've gained this knowledge. I know what it takes. I could do this for somebody else, and it's exactly what we went out and did for other people. It's exactly the same methodology that has landed us some contracts with some of the biggest players and brands on this earth. I mean, as you no, we just finished our contract with FIFA. We're preparing for the Olympics. At the time, we were just working on a contract with BET. We did some work with Sprite. We did some work with Nordstrom, Raising Canes. I mean, That again, that thread of having the accelerator as a mentorship for all of that and learning how to go out. And again, we talked about this before. Take your seat at the table. Now, you need to be ready when you sit at the table. You know, you got to be ready to hold your own, but don't wait for the seat at the table. Take the seat. It's there. It's waiting for you. You just have to take it. Don't ask for it.
I love that. So you come through and then you start landing. Talk to me about the confidence to take the seat at the table. What happened for you? And now, what do you say to other entrepreneurs because of that?
I think the number one thing that happened, and it's weird because it's this recurring theme that I'm finding. You never know who someone is, right? You never know what connection they have. Being kind to people has been the number one thread across all of the communication and connection I've had. That has that and
Survival of
excellent
the
work.
kindest.
Mhm.
Survival of the kindest instead of
Yes,
survival of the fittest. We're going to go with survival of the kindest.
I'm telling you, being kind changes it changes everything. It changes what people are willing to do for you. It changes how people show up for you, especially when you're kind with no intention of, I'm looking to get something out of this. Every time I meet someone, I'm never asking for something, and I think this is one of the pillars that you all had stood on in the accelerator. It's like when you come to a meeting or a group, lead with what you can give before you ask for something. How can I support you? What can I do to further your vision or help your journey? And that's the same methodology I've always come with when I interact with somebody, especially for the first time. Anybody will tell you one of the first things I ask is, okay, how can I support you? What is most meaningful to you? And that has always come back around. I mean, some of the biggest contracts that we've landed are simply because I was nice to one or kind to one person, and they just kept a watch on everything I've done, and they've seen my work ethic. They've seen how I'm able to hold a certain level of confidence and speak about everything I'm doing. And they were like, you know what? I want to work with this guy.
I love that because you do. You have done that for the community as an alum of Entrepreneur Ready. It's how to start something. You constantly are showing up, give, 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 and then ask. You've said a lot of founders, especially black and brown ones, are standing outside rooms waiting to be invited in. What would you say to them today?
It's scary. I get that. It's very scary. And there are a lot of different factors that play into the success of what happens when you sit at that table, right? But I think the one thing that you can't fake is confidence, and I think that's one thing that will always shine through, and I stand by that. As bad as it's going to sound to say, um, the one color everybody speaks is green.
Mm,
Everybody speaks the color green. And for those who may not know what that means, it's money. If you're able to speak to solving problems in people's lives, you're able to speak to problem solving in communities, there will always be a seat at the table for you. I promise. It's just about finding which table is for you. Because you could be trying to get seats at the wrong table, tables where you may not be ready for certain tables. That was a very real thing that I realized, where I come into a lot of situations and conversations where I wasn't ready, and you're not going to be able to fake the funk in a lot of those scenarios. And I'm still running into that now, where you realize you're maybe not ready for this next level, and there's still some work you have to do, and that's absolutely okay because that's a part of the journey. So to those black and brown founders, I will say, one, keep going. That's the number one thing. Two is that, when you're approaching a table, you're approaching a group, a community, a conversation, make sure you actually understand what's going on within that
mm.
community. I think that's incredibly important. If you're not knowledgeable of that community, you're not knowledgeable of what these people care about, you're not knowledgeable of this, for lack of better words, buying group, your target audience, it, it it's all downhill from there. Knowing your audience and knowing who you're speaking to is incredibly important.
This summer, you were, speaking of being at the table, at one of the biggest tables in the country. Your company was
Yes,
contracted across all 8 World Cup matches here in New York
yes.
City. Take me a moment that hit you, the room you were standing in.
It's funny. The that moment about DJing. in doing the live programming for FIFA, it still hasn't hit me. I was thinking about it last night because it's only less than a week since it's been over, and I was like, wow, we really just did that. Um, I think to sidebar, a big issue that I'm learning is I'm always on the go, so I really don't get time to reflect about things that we've done. But I will say the closest I've gotten to that was on the day of the finals. You know, I was rolling in, or driving in rather, and I was just thinking, wow, this is it. This is the final game. And then it really didn't hit me until the halftime show where I was watching it at the like right in at the bottom of the stands, and
You're watching
I was like,
Shakira on like the halftime show.
I was right there, like
Oh
watching it right at the
my!
stand. So, and I realized I'm like, wow, this is huge. And I think what really got me was seeing all of these people come in, flying from different countries, whether they were from Spain, from Argentina, whether they were or from other countries, and they really just wanted to come in and enjoy this. It really hit me like, wow, we really did this. Um, that was the closest I've gotten thus far. I'm sure I'll reflect probably in a month from now and say, "Wow, that really happened." But I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I knew the last game was like here, when July 1st hit, I already started prepping for the Olympics. I was already planning a brand shift a little bit for myself as a DJ and for my company as a whole, and just planning for the next 2 years because I'm unfortunately always looking so far ahead that I don't take time to actually feel things in the moment. But I'm learning to get better at that.
I love it. And you're now okay. I can step up to the table at the Olympics. You
Absolutely.
you are a model of earning the right to be at the table. I know now you're thinking about how that fits into accessibility and golf. Tell us a little bit about that venture and how that fits in kind of to this mosaic you're creating on community that's aligned with your why.
Absolutely. So coming out of FIFA, and this has been something that's really been a long time coming. Sports has always been a big thing for me, but in recent time, I've been trying to lean my brand and even my company's brand more into the luxury, more affluent audience groups. And after FIFA, I'm like, you know what? I think I want to go full force within this. So one of the things that I wanted to do was launch a sports media outlet or editorial platform, right? And really, again, community is the center point of this. So when I was thinking about, okay, what community do I want to focus on specifically, it was really around golf, right? And typically for Black and Brown individuals, there's a high barrier to access for golf, right? It's expensive to learn. It's expensive to get clubs and different resources for. Country clubs, my God, if you have not seen the price of those, I encourage you to not look unless you're ready to spend some money. And at times, even if you're trying to get into it, it can be a little abrasive,
So what will
almost to
this
where it's
platform do? Tell us, so what are you gonna do?
right. So, with it being a media platform, my first thought is free content and community for beginners and those intermediate players, right? We currently have a team of three, where one of them, or one of my partners, he actually coaches younger high school kids and even those out of high school that are getting into golf. From that beginner and intermediate level, he does private lessons, and he really walks you all through it. And I think from a digital standpoint, you can have loads of content on the internet about being there, or excuse me, what it is to play golf and what all these resources takes, all that jazz. But I think having someone on the ground that is willing to actually be there and work with you and give you all this info is a game changer. So like I said, from an editorial standpoint, there's loads of free content and just a general community platform that I'd love to escalate into Discord,
Do we have a
eventually some
name
sort
for
of
it
team
yet, or is
training.
it still to be unleashed, uncovered, launched?
No, it's called Martetti.
Martetti. Okay, we'll be watching for that. Okay, I
Martetti.
know I want to get a few truth bombs because you are an expert at this intersection of search and AI. Walk
Yes,
me
ma'am.
through a little right now. If small business owners and entrepreneurs are listening to this, what
Mhm.
what are three things that you want them to do specifically? And what are three mistakes you think, or myths or beliefs people have right now that they need to get over because of the change we're seeing?
Okay, I'm gonna take this one at a time. Three things I think they should be doing. Um, the number one thing is paying attention to your brand outside of social media. I think for a lot of folks, they forget that search does not end on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or LinkedIn. There's a whole World Wide Web out there, and that specific term on how you optimize that is search engine optimization. Focus on that even down to your Google local My Business profile. There are a lot of people that are looking for you locally. There is even more people looking for you nationally and globally. So you need to focus on your brand and your narrative outside of just these social media platforms. That is the one area that I see
So
a lot of
give
small
me two
businesses
or three
fail.
things you want to make sure they've done on that. One, two, three.
Fix your Google My Business profile first, especially if you are hyper local with your services or your products you offer. That is one of the most significant fixes that I've seen help tenfold, and really go through everything on your My Business profile and add your hours, add your services, add your service descriptions. If you have people that have used your product or service, have them review, incentivize them to review, add coupons. Make sure if it's a holiday coming up, you're updating that so people can see what's going on. If you just had a recent event happen, you can do posts on your Google My Business profile. You can let people know without them having to go to your site. You have to keep in mind nowadays, with AI being at the forefront of search, it's going to be less attractive for people to click through to your website when they can get the answer at the top of these search engines.
Okay,
So
what's
you need
number
to.
two? We got our Google My. What
Mhm.
what's the number two thing small business or an entrepreneur should do?
Make sure your narrative is on point.
Give
Make
me an
sure
example.
how.
Be specific. I need the specifics, buddy.
So when I say narrative, I mean how you speak about your brand online. Make sure these language models like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude are all reflecting that. When's the last time that, or I encourage business owners, if it's been a while since you've done a messaging refresh, how do you speak about your business? Do that once more, and then run that against what is on your website, right? Is there conflicting messages that you're giving your audience? What are they reading? And then again, you take that a step further. Once you have all that set, how are these digital platforms actually understanding what you do? Run a quick search on ChatGPT. See if it knows you. See what it says about you. Run it on Google AI mode.
And how
That's
do we
another.
make sure Claude and Chat and all of the tools are picking our stuff up? What's the highest return on investment way we can make sure they're getting it right? Let's say our narrative is right.
Highest return. I think there's a multitude of things that are high
Okay, give me a
investment
couple.
returns. It starts with your own website, making sure your heading structure, your structured data, all of that is good. Your internal linking. Essentially, you want to be able to tell Google, this is what I do. These are all the paths that you can take across my website that reinforce that I know what I'm talking about, and I'm well versed to speak on this. Right after you go outside of your website, I always encourage people to, lean on your partners. Who do you know? If you had to pick several outlets that you would want somebody to tell your story on, what are those outlets and why do they make sense, right? If you are speaking about golf in this case, right? We know there's Golf Digest. I maybe wouldn't shoot for like a sponsored piece on an ESPN partner network, but maybe there's something much lower where you can get your story out there and someone to speak on your behalf
Over
if
at Golf
you have a story to
Digest.
tell. Mhm.
What's the difference between SEO and AI optimization?
So there's a lot of buzzwords flying around right now. You have SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is everything specifically referring to organic search, right? You have AEO, which is answer engine optimization, which now we're talking specifically about like Google's AI. At the top when it
Yep,
comes up, if you search
I've been
something,
using it.
then you.
It's helpful.
Exactly. And then you have GEO, which is generative engine optimization. And now you're starting to talking about ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and all of that.
So for a small
Right.
business owner, if they need to keep it simple and they can only do a few things, I hear you say starting with the Google local. I say your web. It starts with your website. Then can you get your content on those big strategic partner that link directly to you? If you were doing one more thing to be found across AI,
I would say it's content creation, but it's not very generic content creation. It's so there's commodity content, which is content you can find anywhere and it can be regurgitated, and Google will actually penalize you for putting that content out, right? Google loves non-commodity data. So if you have something only you know, information that is specific to your industry, your target audience, now is the time to scream it from the rooftops. If you have a solution or a service that relies on a data finding that is something you read or something you found that you're like, wow, I want to dive deeper into this and have my own thought leadership or thesis on this. Now is the time where that is going to rise to the top. So content creation is very important, but specifically non-commodity content, and it has to be tailored to your audience. You can write and automate 1,000 blogs a day with AI, but if they're not specifically tailored to what your audience is currently thinking about, what keeps them up at night, what motivates them, and what will ultimately push them to engage with you or convert, whatever that conversion method is for you, you're missing out.
so I think we've shown you're an expert. There's going to be links to DATIES and how you could work with Myrran. Okay, so let's go down. I got two last questions. I know you're going to fly. If there were three things you'd want a founder or an entrepreneur or someone sitting on the sidelines, or maybe someone sitting like you were at 3 a.m. that just feels like they're not doing the right thing, what would you say?
One, don't be scared to start over. Starting over is scary, but nothing worth having comes easy,
Mm,
right? At least that's what I believe. Two, just start. I think for a lot of founders and entrepreneurs, we can spend a lot of time on the minute details. We can spend a thousand. We can spend all this time focusing on things that really don't matter rather than just starting and getting our product and service out there. And sometimes it's okay to build the plane as you're flying it. It's not all the time, but sometimes it's okay just to start. And the third thing is be kind. Be kind. I promise, just be kind. I think that's the number one thing I could say.
wow. Okay, for the owner watching who's already has a business and know it has to change and is at that pivot,
Mhm.
what would you tell them anything different?
They are at that place where they want to pivot. They know what needs to
They,
change.
they know they have to pivot.
They know they. I would tell them the same thing, but I would say find a mentor
Mm.
or lean on people to figure out what type of mentor is for you. I think when you're at that place, you have a lot of different voices in your head. You have a lot of external voices that, especially with social media nowadays, you can have a million different think pieces pulling you in a different direction. But I think finding a mentor who's in a specific lane that you would like to be in, and even exploring where that lane is, I think that's invaluable. I mean, Pam, as you know, um, I can't thank you enough, Westchester County, and the network that I've built just because having that mentorship and a community to come back to has helped me tenfold. Like I said, it's increased my confidence, it's increased how I speak about myself, my business, how I show up to interviews like this. I think that mentorship is incredibly invaluable. So if you are in that place where you want to pivot and you don't know where to start, mentorship.
Well, congratulations. Like, we're so excited to see our alum rocking and rolling and you being out at the table and contracting for all 8 games at FIFA. And the work you're doing is so inspiring. And the person that you are, Mom, like how you show up to give, ask, and this leading with kindness, you're changing all the communities you show up in. So for the rest of you, Myron took his seat. Myron showed up, he came into the accelerator and he said, I'm going to do this. And I've got a lot of blind spots. and I want to do it with community. So if you want to work with people that have that have got your back, that have been there and done it, they've built companies and they can mentor you and shorten the timeline, get over to How to Start Something and join our community. And if you don't join ours, join someone else's, because together each achieves more. And no one does this maker, creator, artist, builder, entrepreneur thing alone. It's just a lie. We're either pulled up or pushed out. Like Myron said, you never know who's around you in the next room. And your dreams, even if you're sitting on that platform like Myron is, or you're at a pivot, or you're knocking on doors and you're not at the table yet, you can be there. Myron, thank you for today. Can't wait to rock and roll with you, and check out all Myron's links.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Pam.
All right.